This is Matthew, and I'm doing my female religious figures project on Catherine de' Medici. She was born on April 13th, 1509 in Florence, Italy. That was 2 years after Martin Luther nailed his 95 Theses. She married Henry II of France in 1533, which made her French royalty and threw her into the world of French politics. During her time, the most pressing issue in France was the conflict between the French Catholic government and the Huguenots. She was a Catholic and did not support the Protestant Reformation, but still was an advocate for peace and reconciliation between the two sides. Having 5 children who would be future rulers further intensified her desire for peace, as she wanted them to rule during a time of peace, not conflict. Catherine played a key role in creating peace between the Huguenots and the French Catholic government. In 1561, she made an unsuccessful attempt at the Colloquy of Poissy at peace. Despite her failure, 2 years later, she advocated the Edict of Amboise. This edict allowed Huguenots freedom of belief in exchange for them allowing their worship to be regulated based on their social class. Although neither sides were fully pleased with the agreement, Catherine's pushes for its passing and both sides' desire for peace led to the edict being signed. In 1572, Catherine also arranged a marriage between her Catholic daughter and the Protestant Huguenot prince Henry of Navarre. This once again helped create peace between the Huguenots and Catholics. Despite her peacemaking efforts, in 1572, due to fear of a Huguenot uprising and rumors to kill her son, Charles IX, the King of France, Catherine ordered all Huguenot leaders to be killed. This is known as St. Bartholomew's Day Massacre. To this day, there is conjecture amongst historians as to whether Catherine was a true advocate for peace or just manipulated both sides for political power and influence.
Eleanor of Aquitaine and Countess of Anjou by Jack Evans. Historical locations. We do not know the exact birth date for Eleanor of Aquitaine, but we do know she was born in Aquitaine, France. We do know her death date, though. It was in 1204 in France. Throughout her whole life, she became the Queen of England and France. Tenets/influences. Duke William X of Aquitaine, who was her father, was a risk-taker and was passionate about his opinions, even if they opposed the most powerful man in Western Europe. So that person massively persuaded her to do a lot of things. And then art was also a big interest of her family. William X, who was her grandfather, was a poet and helped Eleanor escalate her interest in art as he surrounded her with music and literature as she grew older. King Louis VI took Eleanor under her wing and acted like her guardian after her father, who she was living with, passed away. The guy kind of used her by getting her to marry his son, who was ultimately the King of France in the future. Influence on the church/Western culture beliefs. Well, Eleanor's first marriage was to the King of France, who was Louis VI's son that he arranged for her to marry. He acted more like a monk than a king, so she did not see him to being fit for a king. Eleanor's sister, Petronilla, had an affair with a married man, and she felt bad, so she wanted to marry him. Divorce wasn't possible under church laws, but Eleanor bended the laws and let her marry the guy, and that angered the church. But overall, she wasn't much involved with the church. Other major areas of concern. After Eleanor's second baby with King Louis, she decided to marry Henry, Count of Anjou, who was the future King of England, which makes her the Queen of England. Later on in their marriage, Eleanor got annoyed with Henry because he wouldn't make one of their 4 kids to be the king, and rule over the land because um, Henry was always gone and not acting like a true king. Then Eleanor went back to her old husband, King Louis the Seventh, her previous husband, and decided to wage war on Henry. It did not work, and Eleanor was imprisoned for a few years.